Hey folks, I am Troy, and today we're going to talk a little bit about Flash plugin and Shockwave plugin crash errors. So a lot of people are getting these errors, not too many I don't think out of the entire Cricut universe, but a lot of people do get the errors, and they're very annoying and they're very hard to track down for the cause. So a lot of people like to point the finger at Cricut and say, shame on you, Design Space isn't working well, but on clean systems where there's not anything interfering, I know my system runs great since Design Space 2.0 was released. There's a few known bugs, there always will be in every software, but as far as stability and speed and everything, I really don't have any complaints. But a lot of people do experience these plugin errors, and they're very annoying, and like I said, they're very difficult to track down. So we'll talk about a few of the possible fixes for that and how you can try to troubleshoot it and narrow it down. I'm going to show you some examples here in a moment. Don't go through the video and just make all the changes. Make sure you make them one at a time and test them. If the first fix doesn't do it, undo the fix and then go back and do the next fix. Don't just go through and do them all at once, because then you might cause more problems, or you may not know what fixed it, or you could really cause some problems if you don't do things very slow and methodically and take time to test adequately. So I'll talk to you about a couple of things that are known to cause some of these errors, and one of them are large projects or complicated projects that have maybe a lot of cuts. Sometimes print and cut will cause it, and things like that. So if you have an object and you want to print it or cut it like 50 times, and you just change the quantity to 50, or maybe you duplicate it 50 times on the screen and it has a lot of things to do, it may cause the plugin to crash because of a timeout issue, and it's just not able to keep up. So if you say you get this all the time, back up, do something simple, type a word in, see if it'll cut it fine, and scale up what you're doing and find out if there's a threshold at which it's happening. That may tell you that it's more of a system performance issue rather than a just an outright system issue. I have had some people tell me that every single time they right click on something in Design Space, it causes the error. So that would tell me that it's probably something wrong with the system, maybe a video driver or something like that, as opposed to the complication of the project that you're working on or what you're trying to do. A sensitive topic for a lot of people is the fact that I say a lot of slow systems tend to get these errors, and it is just simply a fact. I talk to a lot of people. I've helped a lot of people online and through Facebook Messenger and so forth, and a lot of these errors, when it comes down to it, I find out they have a very slow processor, or they don't have very much RAM, or their system is 8 or 9 years old, things like that. And it just simply causes more problems. You're more prone to it than if you have an up-to-date system that has a little bit better processor and enough RAM and all that. It's just a fact of life. And if you buy the $200 laptop at Walmart and it has a really slow processor in it and not very much RAM, you're may not going to experience the great performance from Design Space that you might want or expect. So old versions of Flash may do this. So go to Adobe's website, in the bottom right hand corner there's a link for installing Flash, and it will you can check your version of Flash. Make sure you uncheck the little box on there that says install McAfee virus scanner, or security scan rather. I don't like that. It's anything comes bundled like that tends to be a nuisance more than anything, so make sure you uncheck that as well. So we'll flip over to my system and I'll show you some examples and see what we can do for you. There are a couple things you can do to try to eliminate Shockwave Flash plugin errors with Chrome, and I'll show you what those are now. So you want to go to the plugins page, and I'll put the link to this in the video description down below. And once you're looking at the list of plugins, most systems will have somewhere between 5, 10, maybe 15 plugins installed. And anything more than, when you get up around 10, 12 plugins and you start getting up around 15 plugins, you may have too many things installed in your browser, like third-party toolbars and add-ons, ad blockers, all those kind of things, and they may cause conflicts, and you want to take a look at those closely. But what we're really going to focus on is the Adobe Flash Player plugin. So if I look at my system, I see that I have Adobe Flash Player, and it says 2 files beside it. Not all systems will have this 2 files. Some of them may only have 1. And if I click the details link over here on the top right corner and then look at it, I'll see that I have 2 Adobe Flash Players installed. One is the PPAPI version And if you look at the folder where it's installed to, you'll see that it's installed with the Google Chrome folder. That version comes bundled in Chrome. So Google issues the updates. As you can see, mine is already updated to 17.0.0.188. But my system version, which is labeled NPAPI, is still running 17.0.0.169. So I have not updated my system Flash player as of yet. So what you want to do in order to troubleshoot this, first disable the one that's built into Chrome, and then relaunch Chrome and go into Design Space and use it and see if you get the errors or not. If you do not get any errors, then you may have solved your problem. If you do continue to get them, you can come back to this page, re-enable the one that's built in and disable the system version and try it both ways. There are different people who've had different success rates with each of those. The next one I'm going to show you, I have to show you a screenshot. I do not have this installed on my system, so I can only show it to you in a screenshot, but it will be found on the same plugins page. And this one, you will want to look for it. It will not be with the other Adobe Flash plugins. It will be by itself in a totally separate entry, and it will say Adobe Shockwave Player. And down here right below it, it will say Adobe Shockwave for Director. And that one is absolutely known to cause problems. If you have Shockwave for Director installed, you want to disable that. It will likely cause problems. And that has been very consistent for everyone who's found that I'm aware of. If they disable this, it usually solves their problem. But not all systems will have that installed either. For Windows, Google makes a software removal tool. It is still in beta, but you can download this tool and it will look at your Google Chrome installation and see if it can find any problems and also remove things that may interfere, such as malware or third-party toolbars that are known to cause problems with Chrome. I recommend that if you're using your browser for Design Space, you do not have anything third-party installed that you don't know what it is and that you don't know that it's very stable, because it can and will likely cause system problems. You can also look at your Google Chrome conflicts page, and again, I'll put this address in the video description down below. And when I look at mine, it says no conflicts detected. But if you run this and it says it has conflicts, it may or may not mean anything, or it may lead you to remove something that could be causing a problem. It is just definitely something that you want to check. The next thing you'll want to check, and you should be able to do this in any browser you're in, is to right-click in the middle of Design Space and go to Settings. Not Global Settings, but just go to Settings. And this brings up a little box for your Adobe Flash Player. You want to disable this Enable Hardware Acceleration box to see if it resolves your problem. A lot of times this will cause problems because it works in conjunction with your video drivers. I did have a couple of users that told me that every time they right-click on something in Design Space, it causes that Flash plugin error, and I suspected that it had something to do with the video driver, because when you are working with something like that, when you right-click, you're engaging drivers like your mouse driver, your keyboard driver, and your video display driver. And I found some articles that listed this as a cause of plugin crash errors in certain applications. So you can do this and see if it helps as well. I do believe if you clear your cache and cookies and everything, this setting may revert. So if it solves the problem for you, it is something that you may want to look at every time you go into Design Space and just right-click, check your settings, and see if it is still disabled. So there are several things that you can try to change on your system, try to resolve and hunt down these issues with the Flash Player or Shockwave Player plugin crashing. If none of those do it for you, I have had several people tell me they were able to either remove and reinstall Flash or remove and reinstall their browser, whether that's Firefox or Chrome or whatever, and it fixed it for them. So if you don't feel comfortable doing that, you may want to have someone who's a little computer savvy do that for you. But you can go into Control Panel in Windows and go to Programs and Features, right click on Adobe Flash, anything you find that says Adobe Flash, and uninstall it, and reinstall it by going to the website. Again, the link is in the video description down below, and install it. Make sure you uncheck that little box that says McAfee Security Scan, and reinstall it and see if that fixes it. If that doesn't do it, You can remove and reinstall your browser the same way and see if that fixes it as well. Now, if you are using Chrome, you may have to go back and do that NPAPI plugin fix we had a problem with a few weeks ago if it resets that setting for you. So you can try those things. Again, I just wanted to throw out as many things as I can because I have found that there are many different causes to this problem and many different people are finding different solutions for it, and some people unfortunately haven't found a solution yet, but I wanted to try to help everyone out and give you as many possibilities as I could to try to resolve that for you. If you're interested in my support services or consulting services, please visit my website at www.troyyoung.com for most current pricing information. Additionally, you can go to patreon.com/troyyoung to help support my channel. Hopefully my video has been helpful to you. If it has been, please subscribe to my channel and by all means, please share my videos.